Alright guys, welcome back to Roxom TV. I'm your host, Jamie. There is a lot happening across Bitcoin, AI, and global markets today. We will start with a major geopolitical update as tensions between the US and Iran take another dramatic turn. Just a day after President Trump suggested a peace deal could be only days away, the US is now preparing for a much more aggressive response following the downing of an American helicopter. We'll break down what happened, where this conflict could be heading next, and why oil markets and investors around the world are watching very closely. Then we head over to Japan, where the country's three largest banks are officially moving forward with plans to launch a yen-backed stablecoin. This is just another sign that TradFi is embracing blockchain technology. We'll discuss what it means for the growing battle between stablecoins and Bitcoin. We'll also take a look at a major announcement from our parent company, so Roxom. The company has officially launched BLOC, its new Bitcoin line of credit, allowing Bitcoin holders to borrow against the BTC without selling it. We'll explain how it works, who it might be for, and why many Bitcoiners see lending as a critical piece of a Bitcoin native financial system. After that, we'll dive into one of the most important Bitcoin policy debates happening in Washington right now. Lawmakers are discussing whether Americans should be able to spend small amounts of Bitcoin without triggering capital gain taxes. It might sound like a technical issue, but it could have huge implications for Bitcoin adoption and whether Bitcoin can function as everyday money. We'll also talk about Hunter Biden's latest comments on Bitcoin, fiat money, and also decentralization. Some people are now joking that Hunter Biden meme coin, could be coming next. We'll separate the facts from the speculation and discuss why this story has been getting so much attention across crypto Twitter. Then after a short break, we'll be joined by a very special guest. So Anndy Lian has been involved in blockchain industry since the early days. He's worked with governments, major corporations, international organizations, and some of the biggest names in crypto. He's also the author of the new book, so Web 4, The Age of Autonomous Intelligence. We'll talk about the future of AI, blockchain, Bitcoin, Web 4 regulation, and how governments around the world are preparing for the next wave of technological change. So whether you're here for Bitcoin, crypto, AI, global markets, you are definitely going to want to stick around for the entire show. If you're joining us live, let us know where you're watching it from in the chat below. And if you haven't already, do not forget to hit the like button and subscribe to the channel. So there is a lot to go through. Let's get started with the global news we could not ignore. So let's start with Donald Trump. Just yesterday, Donald Trump told reporters that a deal to end the Iran conflict could be only 2 or 3 days away. Today, that tone changed completely. Speaking from the White House, Donald Trump announced that the US is preparing to hit Iran really hard. So let's actually take a look at exactly what he said.
We're going to be attacking them very hard.
You're resuming bombing?
Yeah, well, we are. Based on the helicopter, I guess we have the right to do that. Now, look, I've been working with Iran for a number of months, and they should sign their deal. It's a good deal. It doesn't give them the right to have a nuclear weapon. In fact, it totally prohibits them from ever having a nuclear weapon. And it was just tap, tap, tap. I don't know what they're doing. We want a deal that's meaningful. We want a deal that works. We don't want to just have a Barack Hussein Obama deal, JCPOA, the worst deal. But that deal was a path to a nuclear weapon. This is a path against a nuclear. You can't have a nuclear weapon. So we'll see what happens. But we hit them hard yesterday, and we're going to hit them again hard today, in case you miss it, in case you don't turn on your television set. And we'll see what happens with the deal. We were really close to a deal, but they keep tapping us along. They keep playing us for suckers because you know what? They dealt with some very stupid presidents. I have to say that. I'm embarrassed to say it. Some very stupid people were sitting here.
So, as how Donald Trump said it in the interview, the immediate trigger happens to be the downing of a US attack helicopter over the Strait of Hormuz earlier this week. So, according to Donald Trump, Iran was responsible for the attack. Yesterday, Donald Trump posted on Truth Social that Iran would, quote, have to pay for the price. And now we're entering and seeing that response begin to take shape. According to the US officials, American forces have launched strikes against Iranian targets. That marks a major escalation in a conflict that many hoped for was moving forward a diplomatic solution. So Iran, of course, they did not stay quiet. The Iranian Revolutionary Guard has reportedly launched attacks against US assets across the region. That means both sides are now exchanging military action once again. And for now, any hopes of any immediate peace agreement appear to be on hold. This conflict has already been dragging on for months, and today's development suggests we might be entering another dangerous phase. So, at the center of the negotiation is basically just one issue, which is Iran's nuclear program. Donald Trump has repeatedly said any peace deal must guarantee Iran cannot develop any nuclear weapon. Iran continues to deny that it is seeking nuclear weapons, but the disagreement remains one of the biggest obstacles to a lasting agreement. So Iran has also its own list of demands. Reports suggest Tehran wants several major concessions before agreeing to any deal. So that includes the lifting of economic sanctions, access to billions of dollars in frozen assets, recognition of its control over the Strait of Hormuz, and an end to fighting involving groups aligned with Iran in Lebanon. So those are, of course, very significant demands. And so far, neither side appears willing to compromise enough to reach a breakthrough. Markets are still paying close attention because this isn't just a geopolitical story, it's also a market story. The Strait of Hormuz remains one of the most important energy choke points in the world. A large percentage of global oil shipments pass through this really narrow waterway every single day. Any disruption there can quickly impact oil prices, inflation expectations, and financial markets. And that's why traders are watching every headline coming out of the region. So the big question now is whether this latest round of military action is short-term response or the beginning of a much longer escalation. 24 hours ago, investors were talking about a possible peace agreement. Today, we're talking about airstrikes. That tells you just how quickly the situation is changing. As always, we'll continue following developments closely and bring you the latest update as it happens. So, shifting to some basically financial news from different markets. So, right now, I do want to talk about Japan. So, for years, crypto companies have been trying to bring blockchain into finance. Now the banks are doing it themselves. So Japan's three largest banking groups have officially announced plans to launch a jointly issued yen-backed stablecoin by March 2027. These aren't small players. Together, they sit at the center of Japan's financial system and manage trillions of dollars in assets. So, what are they trying to build, you might ask? Like the banks say they will create a council to develop the operating framework for the stablecoin. The goal, of course, is quite simple, is to move money faster, make payments more efficient, and modernize financial infrastructure using blockchain technology. But unlike Bitcoin, everything will remain inside the regulated banking system. Every token will be backed by the Japanese yen, and the entire project will operate under the supervision of Japan's financial regulators. And this, of course, it didn't just happen overnight. This project has actually been in development for quite some time. So back in late 2025, Japan's Financial Services Agency approved a proof of concept involving all three banks. Since then, they've been testing how stablecoins could work for both domestic payments and international transfers. And now they are moving from testing to execution. The target launch date is March 2027. And what we could understand from this is that the global stablecoin race is really heating up. Like what's happening in Japan is just is part of a much bigger trend. Banks around the world are starting to realize that blockchain technology isn't going away. In the US, major financial institutions are exploring stablecoins. In Europe, banks are experimenting with tokenized deposits, and payment companies are racing to build blockchain based settlement systems. The goal is to move money faster and cheaper than traditional banking rails, because if they don't, crypto native networks might do it fast. So the irony here, I have to say, is hard to ignore because, like, think about this, like where we were just 5 or 10 years ago. Like many banks dismissed crypto entirely. Some even called Bitcoin a scam. Others said blockchain had no real use case. Now, many of those same institutions are now spending billions of dollars building blockchain-based money, not because they suddenly love crypto, but because they recognize the technology works and they don't want to be left behind. And here's another interesting dynamic. So, stablecoins versus Bitcoin. A bank issue stablecoin and Bitcoin solve very different problems. So stablecoins give you digital dollars or digital yen. They are fast, they are efficient, but they are still controlled by institutions. Bitcoin is different because Bitcoin is digitally scarce. No bank controls it, no governments can print more of it, no company can change the supply. So while banks are embracing blockchain technology, they are not embracing Bitcoin's core idea. They are embracing digital money, not decentralized money. So this isn't, I would say this story isn't just about Japan. It's a story where the financial system is heading. Like the world's largest banks are no longer asking whether blockchain matters. They have already answered that question. So the real question now is when digital money becomes mainstream, what kind of money will people choose? Will they choose bank issued stablecoins backed by governments and financial institutions? Or will they choose a scarce digital asset that nobody controls? Because over the next decade, that competition might become one of the biggest battles in global finance. So we'll take a short break from here. When we come back, we have to talk about a latest product on Roxom Exchange. So a lot of Bitcoiners have this idea of never selling your Bitcoin. But in the real world, sometimes you need some USDT or basically maybe support your kids or you have other financial commitments. So what do? Maybe Bitcoin lending is not so much a bad idea after all. So we'll give you details after the break. Do stay with us then.
This is Alex. Alex spends most of his time thinking like a trader, still deciding what to do with his Bitcoin. While Alex waits for the perfect entry, this is Laura. She's watching the S&P drop. Everyone is suddenly a macro expert. She doesn't panic. This is Tom. No screens, no noise, no stress. While Tom focuses on his swing, his Bitcoin focuses on compounding. Because Bitcoiners don't want more dollars. They want more Bitcoin.
I want more Bitcoin.
The best move is letting your Bitcoin work while you plan the next one. Grow by Roxom. One currency, one place.
All right, guys, welcome back to Roxom TV, and thanks for sticking around with us after the break. We now have to talk about the idea of Bitcoin line of credit. What does that mean? Who is it for? So, Bitcoiners have heard of the same advice for years: never sell your Bitcoin. But in the real world, sometimes people need cash, they need liquidity, they need money for investments, business expenses, or everyday life. And that's where a new product from our parent company, so Roxom, comes in. So Roxom has officially launched this BLOC, that stands for Bitcoin Line of Credit. So it sounds very complicated, but the idea is quite simple. So instead of selling your Bitcoin, you can borrow against it. Users can use their Bitcoin as collateral and access dollar liquidity while continuing to hold their BTC. So if BTC goes up in the future, you still maintain your exposure to the asset. So how it works is that I'll quickly jump onto Roxom Exchange, so show you the interface. So when you create the account, the first page is going to be roxom.com. So you could trade, we just have the ad of SpaceX, but actually you could trade anything here with your Bitcoin. You could purchase NVIDIA, you could purchase Tesla with your Bitcoin. So today I do want to talk about the latest product because I've talked about Roxom Exchange previously, but this credit line is the latest product that I find it very attractive for sure. So this BLOC is designed as an open-end line of credit. So what I mean by open-ended is that if you take a look at the duration period here, it's actually open-ended. So it only closes when you decide to close basically the contract. So there are no fixed monthly installments, there are no prepayment penalties, and importantly, there is no rehypothecation. In simple terms, that means your Bitcoin isn't being lent out to somebody else behind the scenes. The Bitcoin remains locked as collateral for your loan. The company said the product will be rolled out progressively to users around the world. The stated interest rate is 7.25 APR, which is really competitive because if you compare this borrow rate to other similar platforms like Nexo or Latin, they're doing double-digit borrow rate. So this one is another, basically another characteristic I find it very attractive. And for many Bitcoin holders, this has always been one of the biggest missing pieces of Bitcoin-based financial system. Traditionally speaking, if you want liquidity, you had to sell your Bitcoin, but selling comes with consequences. You lose exposure to upside, basically the future upside. And in many countries, selling Bitcoin can trigger taxes. A Bitcoin backed loan offers a different option. So you get to keep your Bitcoin, you get access to liquidity, and you avoid selling the asset. So this is actually how the basically our financial system works as well. So we basically our system is full of a bit of the private credit. Maybe some institutions would put up as something as collateral, maybe a aircraft or something. So in this case, we are using Bitcoin and we are borrowing the idea from TradFi into the Bitcoin world. So this is like basically lending, I would say, is for everyone that holds Bitcoin. But for hedge fund or people see an opportunity to do arbitrage, that is a different case. And this is how you combine everything to help you to make profit and make a little bit of money on the end, on top of just Bitcoin lending. So here I found a tweet that I think is very interesting and it's very, I would say, worth looking into. So this person talked about the Roxom credit line, the 7.25 APR that I was showing. So here there's a strategy that actually a lot of hedge funds have been doing so, or not just hedge funds, but like people who are good at spotting arbitrage or good at trading, they've been doing so. So this idea is actually it's very simple to understand. So we've talked about SATA before, and we also talk about STLC, which is offering 11.5%. So the difference between SATA and STLC is actually comes down to the risk. So obviously SATA over higher yield, so that comes a higher risk nature to it. So 13%. But this strategy from coffee house stocks, the idea is quite simple. Since you are earning 13% from SATA, and if you hop onto Roxom, so the borrow rate that you're paying is only 7.25%. Like in other words, there is an arbitrage opportunity you can pull here. And this is what it had some hedge funds going crazy or arbitrage spotters going crazy because you are earning a net profit of 5.75%. So easiest money ever, and that's why this product has been so popular these days. Roxom wrote out this to OTC desk and to institutions first, but right now it's also available to users. So I'll explain how this works. So I talk about the 7.25 borrow cost you have to pay if you want to borrow some loan of USDT and use your Bitcoin as collateral. The contract is open-ended, so there isn't a duration limit. It closes when you decide to close. And max LTV, I do want to spend some time to talk about this. So 50%. So what it means is that if Bitcoin drop 50%, then you have to add more collateral. Otherwise, you are at a very dangerous spot. So usually LTV, we keep it below 50%. Like in some cases, some platform would offer 66% or even 80%. But that is, in my opinion, is too risky, and I do want some sleep at night. So I'll highly encourage anyone to keep the LTV below 50%, and the 50%, that's I would say that's all I need. So very interesting stuff. Do check out if you guys are interested. So this is, again, it's not a new concept in TradFi. Like many wealthy investors borrow against assets rather than selling them. So they borrow against stocks, they borrow against real estate, or they borrow against the aircraft. They use loans to access liquidity without triggering taxable events. And the idea behind Bitcoin-backed lending is bringing the same concepts to Bitcoin holders. Now, it's important to understand that borrowing against Bitcoin isn't risk-free for sure. Bitcoin is a volatile asset. That's why I mentioned like a definitely below 50% LTV would be better. Like personally, I'll do like 30% because I'm old. So like if the price drops significantly, borrowers might need to post additional collateral or face liquidation depending on the loan terms. So this isn't some free money. It's not free lunch. It's leverage. And leverage always carries risk. And that's why like users need to understand exactly how this product works before actually using it, because you are interacting with some loan contract at the end of the day. So we just talked about one strategy that a lots of arbitrage spotters have been making money on, so which is to buy SATA or maybe SDLC if you are less so basically risk averse. So as for my strategy using Bitcoin lending, so this type of stuff to earn money, as you know, if you've been watching my shows for quite some time, you know I'm a Bitcoin long-term bullish maxi. Like short-term wise, I do think based on the TA, we have some difficult. Even seen a cycle bottom yet, but like according to 4-year cycle, it's going to be in around like October this year. But anyways, like since Bitcoin is like relatively cheap, I wouldn't say it's extremely cheap, but like 62.6K, it's not like a bad deal for sure. And we talk about the moving average again and again, and right now we're still trading below the both the 50-day and 200-day moving average. So that means it is not expensive. So my own strategy, not financial advice, I'm just sharing what I see is making sense to me. So since the we know Bitcoin is in the bear market, what I would do is that I'll put Bitcoin as collateral, take out a loan, and then pay out that 75%. I would borrow 30%, and then I'll put that money, so I'll get USDT. So just for easy math, what it means is that if I have $100 worth of BTC, and if I put that as collateral, if I do 30%, that means I'll get $30, and at $30, I'm going to put that into Bitcoin. So basically, you could loop that. Some people, if they are ultra degen, they could pull up like 50% of their loan to valuation and have that $50 and put that and buy use that 50 USDT to buy Bitcoin. So until you can't do it anymore. So this basically is the idea from the Aave loop. So this is one strategy I'll personally do. Of course, not financial advice. I'm just sharing and talking to you guys as friends. What are the strategies that could be discussed here and see an opportunity and make some more money. All right, but like the bigger picture here is what this says about Bitcoin's evolution. So for years, Bitcoin was mostly viewed as something people bought and held. Today, an entire financial ecosystem is built around it. So we are seeing Bitcoin ETFs, we are seeing Bitcoin treasury companies, we are seeing Bitcoin-backed preferred shares, and now we are seeing Bitcoin-backed lines of credit. Whether you agree with these products or not, they are all point to the same trend. Bitcoin is slowly moving beyond just an asset. It's becoming the foundation for an entirely new financial system. And products like BLOC are just another step towards that direction. All right, so we are sticking in the Bitcoin world, and right now, let's talk about Bitcoin could basically get a huge tax break in the United States. So this is not small. Like one of the biggest Bitcoin policy debates in Washington right now isn't about ETFs. It's not about stablecoins. It's not about Clarity Act. It's about something much simpler. Can you buy a cup of coffee with Bitcoin without creating a tax event? So this week, CoinCenter's Director of Policy testified before Congress. He appeared at a House Ways and Means Committee hearing focused on digital asset taxation. And his message was quite simple. Bitcoin should not be taxed like a stock every time someone spends it. Today, if you buy Bitcoin at one price and send it later at a higher price, technically you have created a capital gain. That means even buying a sandwich could trigger tax reporting. And for most people, that's simply not practical. So let's actually play a clip of what he said during the hearing now.
We're going to be attacking them.
Of like a foreign currency transaction. It wasn't that we wanted to say, hey, we're incentivizing people to go buy euros and then buy a croissant when they go to France on their train. It is a recognition that when people traded into euros and then went on vacation and bought something, we could not expect them to do that capital gains estimation and pay those taxes, and that they weren't going to. And I think that is why we think at least that the de minimis exemption should go further to cover some of these assets like Bitcoin, where there is a very real economy for using it in small payments.
So you make the distinction between stable Bitcoin and the network fee?
Correct.
Okay.
All right, so what CoinCenter is pushing for is something called a de minimis exception. So basically, if the transaction is small enough, you don't need to calculate capital gains. The idea already exists in other areas of finance. For example, Americans don't calculate taxes every time they exchange a small amount of foreign currency while traveling. Bitcoin advocates argue the same logic should apply here. If you're spending a few dollars worth of Bitcoin, it shouldn't create a complicated tax filing requirement. So this idea isn't just theoretical. Senator Cynthia Lummis has already introduced legislation addressing the issue. Her proposal would create a $300 exception for small digital asset transactions. That would also be a $5,000 annual cap. Under that framework, everyday purchases could happen without triggering capital gains reporting requirements. For Bitcoin users, that would be a major change. Now, here's where it matters. So the Clarity Act focuses on market structure. It helps define which regulator oversees different parts of the crypto industry. That is important. But this debate goes even deeper because it asks a fundamental question. Is Bitcoin simply an investment or is it money? If Bitcoin is treated only as an investment, then every transaction becomes taxable event. But if lawmakers want people to actually use Bitcoin for payments, the tax rules need to reflect that reality. So it boils down to Bitcoin versus basically. This is, I would say, where it is interesting. So many lawmakers support stablecoins because they are tied to the US dollar. Stablecoins are essentially digital dollars. Bitcoin is different. Like Bitcoin is decentralized money. No government controls it, no company issues it. And some Bitcoin advocates worry that lawmakers could make stablecoin payments easy while leaving Bitcoin stuck under old tax rules. If that happens, stablecoins become practical for payments while Bitcoin remains difficult to use. So this matter because think about it from the perspective on the average person. Nobody wants to track gains and losses every time they buy lunch. Nobody wants an accountant just to use digital money. If Bitcoin users have to calculate taxes on every small purchase, most people simply won't spend it. They would hold it instead. So it goes back to this Twitter post. A de minimis exception could remove one of the biggest barriers to real-world Bitcoin adoption. For years, Bitcoin has been treated mainly as digital gold, store of value, something you save. But if Congress creates meaningful tax exemption for small Bitcoin transactions, that could be a major step toward treating Bitcoin as actual money. Not just something you hold, but something you can actually use. And that might end up being one of the most important Bitcoin policy debates happening in Washington right now. All right, so we are shifting gears from Bitcoin to right now Hunter Biden. So this next story, it is quite unusual and honestly, it's quite funny because some people on crypto Twitter are now asking a question that nobody expected to ask in 2026. So is Hunter Biden about to launch a crypto token? So Hunter Biden has been posting some surprisingly crypto-friendly comments on X recently. So one post in particular started gaining a lot of attention. So a user replied to Hunter Biden. So this is on 5th of June. So what this user said is that thoughts on the entire fiat and financial system being unicorn fart dust. So Hunter Biden actually responds directly. So this is what he wrote: Fiat is a sham. The banking class is corrupt. The centralized digital currency and the blockchain are the inevitable future, and the incumbents will fight it to the death. Now, that is a pretty strong statement, if you ask me, especially coming from the son of a former US president. And if you've been in Bitcoin for a while, some of those talking points probably sound familiar. Is distrust of fiat money, criticism of the banking system, support for decentralized technology, belief that blockchain changes everything. These are themes we have heard from Bitcoiners for years. And naturally, the crypto community started paying attention. And as for the meme coin speculation, this is basically where all of these are coming from. So actually, take a listen to this clip.
I was saying to you about the cryptocurrency thing. I think there's incredible promise in cryptocurrency. I believe in the meme token. I'll do something one day to create a community, and there's really good reasons to do it. There's really interesting ways, and I know people can disagree. I just happen to be kind of like a
crypto guy.
I mean, just because of my I think it is incredible freedom in a world in which we've been controlled by banks. So if you have the same problem that I have with big pharma banks and the Fed and these like where does money come from kind of thing, is it I truly believe in what Satoshi, kind of the manifesto of Bitcoin. But that's just me.
All right, so during that conversation, he suggested he might eventually build some type of crypto community. And he also spoke positively about Bitcoin and Satoshi Nakamoto. Now, to be clear, talking about a crypto community is not the same as launching a token. And as of today, there has been absolutely no announcement of any coin, any project, or crypto company. But in crypto, people tend to read between the lines. So let's be honest, like crypto veterans, we have seen this playbook many times. So someone discovers Bitcoin, they start talking about freedom, they criticize banks, they then start build an audience, they talk about decentralization, then boom, 6 months later, there is a token launch. Maybe it's an NFT collection, or maybe some meme coin, or even a DAO, maybe something stranger. The crypto community has a long history of turning attention into tokens. Now, I just want to make a distinction yet again. So, Hunter's Biden, his post, he talked about decentralized digital currency, but not all crypto assets are created equally. Like Bitcoin is decentralized. Nobody controls it, nobody can print more, and most tokens simply don't work the same way. Most crypto projects, they have founders, they have insiders, they have treasury allocations, and many end up looking a lot more like startups than money. That's why Bitcoiners would argue there's a huge difference between supporting Bitcoin and supporting crypto in general. So the question everyone is asking here is Hunter Biden coming to meme coin? Well, at this point, nobody knows. There is no token, there's no launch date, there is no project, and there's no evidence that Hunter Biden plans to release anything at all. But when someone talks about building a crypto community, people start to speculate. Maybe he's genuinely interested in Bitcoin, maybe he's learning about monetary policy, maybe he likes the ideas behind decentralization, or maybe we are one press release away from something called $Hunter token. So the biggest takeaway isn't really about Hunter Biden, it's actually about how far Bitcoin has come. 10 years ago, politicians and political families barely talk about Bitcoin at all. Now, people from every corner of politics are discussing fiat money, they are discussing blockchain and decentralization. So, whether you agree with them or not, the conversation is becoming mainstream. And that's probably the most important story here. And as for whether a Hunter Biden coin is coming, let's just say crypto has surprised us before. All right, so we are going to take a short break from here, but make sure you stick around because coming out next, we have a very special guest joining us today. So Anndy Lian, he has advised governments, international organizations, and some of the biggest players in the crypto industry. We'll be diving into AI, into Web4, crypto adoption, and where all of this technology is heading over in the next few years. So probably do not want to miss out, and we'll be right back after the short break.
Some call me Chicken Little, others Bubble Boy. I'm a bit changed, but sounds familiar, right? Let me tell you a hard truth. The S&P isn't rising, the dollar's falling. That's the trick, monopoly money. It's ice melting by the second. Your savings, your salary, your time. Worth less every second. Everyone's using the wrong measuring stick. Switch the denominator. Price the S&P into Bitcoin. Hard, fixed, unprintable. Suddenly your unstoppable index, it's collapsing. And while you cling to dollars, well, Wall Street already switched. Before, you needed 2 brokers.
Still getting my ninja bonus though, right?
Fuck. Plenty of spreadsheets. And my quant!
I hate this part.
I was right, and I'll be right again. If I were you, I'd thank me.
You know my name's Dave, right?
Security matters. Zappo Bank. The only way to bank your Bitcoin. Apply now at zappobank.com.
So, tell us about your furry friend here. What's his name?
Oh, this? This is Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
It's not just a cat, he's family.
Quite a name, and I must say, looks quite pampered.
Oh, absolutely. Bitcoin deserves nothing but the best. He's my little prince.
But with such a valuable pet, aren't you afraid of losing him?
Losing Bitcoin? No, it never happened before, so it's not something I worry about. Excuse me for a moment. Bitcoin, stay here, right?
Bitcoin, no! Bitcoin, come on, little buddy, Bitcoin, I need you. Don't go.
This is Alex. Alex spends most of his time thinking like a trader, still deciding what to do with his Bitcoin. While Alex waits for the perfect entry, this is Laura. She's watching the S&P drop. Everyone is suddenly a macro expert. She doesn't panic. This is Tom. No screens, no noise, no stress. While Tom focuses on his swing, his Bitcoin focuses on compounding. Because Bitcoiners don't want more dollars. They want more Bitcoin.
I want more Bitcoin.
The best move is letting your Bitcoin work while you plan the next one. Grow by Roxom. One currency, one place. This is Alex. Alex spends most of his time thinking like a trader, still deciding what to do with his Bitcoin. While Alex waits for the perfect entry, this is Laura. She's watching the S&P drop. Everyone is suddenly a macro expert. She doesn't panic. This is Tom. No screens, no noise, no stress. While Tom focuses on his swing, his Bitcoin focuses on compounding. Because Bitcoiners don't want more dollars. They want more Bitcoin.
I want more Bitcoin.
The best move is letting your Bitcoin work while you plan the next one. Grow by Roxom. One currency, one place.
Some call me Chicken Little, others Bubble Boy. I'm a bit changed, but sounds familiar, right? Let me tell you a hard truth. The S&P isn't rising, the dollar's falling. That's the trick. Monopoly money. It's ice melting by the second. Your savings, your salary, your time. Worth less every second. Everyone's using the wrong measuring stick. Switch the denominator. Price the S&P into Bitcoin. Hard, fixed, unprintable. Suddenly your unstoppable index, it's collapsing. And while you cling to dollars, well, Wall Street already switched. Before, you needed 2 brokers.
Still getting my ninja bonus though, right?
Fuck. Plenty of spreadsheets. And my quant!
I hate this part.
I was right, and I'll be right again. If I were you, I'd thank me.
You know my name's Dave, right?
Security matters. Zappo Bank. The only way to bank your Bitcoin. Apply now at zappobank.com.
So, tell us about your furry friend here. What's his name?
Oh, this? This is Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
It's not just a cat, he's family.
Quite a name, and I must say, looks quite pampered.
Oh, absolutely. Bitcoin deserves nothing but the best. He's my little prince.
But with such a valuable pet, aren't you afraid of losing him?
Losing Bitcoin? No, it never happened before, so it's not something I worry about. Excuse me for a moment. Bitcoin, stay here, right?
Bitcoin, no! Bitcoin, come on, little buddy, Bitcoin, I need you. Don't go.
This is Alex. Alex spends most of his time thinking like a trader, still deciding what to do with his Bitcoin. While Alex waits for the perfect entry, this is Laura. She's watching the S&P drop. Everyone is suddenly a macro expert. She doesn't panic. This is Tom. No screens, no noise, no stress. While Tom focuses on his swing, his Bitcoin focuses on compounding. Because Bitcoiners don't want more dollars. They want more Bitcoin.
I want more Bitcoin.
The best move is letting your Bitcoin work while you plan the next one. Grow by Roxom. One currency, one place.
How about stretch preferred stock on Roxom? Receive 11.5% monthly cash dividends paid in Bitcoin.
11.5% paid in Bitcoin? How is that possible?
It's real. Stretch dividends on Roxom gives 11.5% monthly cash dividends paid in Bitcoin.
Dang! I want everyone pitching Roxom to your clients. Corporate traders, asset managers, old, young, Stretch on Roxom is for everyone.
Now that's a birthday gift. 11.5% in Bitcoin.
We are in heaven at 11.5. 11.5%. 11.5%.
Some call me Chicken Little, others Bubble Boy. I'm a bit changed, but sounds familiar, right? Let me tell you a hard truth. The S&P isn't rising, the dollar's falling. That's the trick, monopoly money. It's ice melting by the second. Your savings, your salary, your time. Worth less every second. Everyone's using the wrong measuring stick. Switch the denominator. Price the S&P into Bitcoin. Hard, fixed, unprintable. Suddenly your unstoppable index, it's collapsing. And while you cling to dollars, well, Wall Street already switched. Before, you needed 2 brokers.
Still getting my ninja bonus though, right?
Plenty of spreadsheets. And my quant!
I hate this part.
I was right, and I'll be right again. If I were you, I'd thank me.
You know my name's Dave, right?
Security matters. Zappo Bank. The only way to bank your Bitcoin. Apply now at zappobank.com.
So, tell us about your furry friend here. What's his name?
Oh, this? This is Bitcoin.
Bitcoin.
It's not just a cat, he's family.
Quite a name, and I must say, looks quite pampered.
Oh, absolutely. Bitcoin deserves nothing but the best. He's my little prince.
But with such a valuable pet, aren't you afraid of losing him?
Losing Bitcoin? No, it never happened before, so it's not something I worry about. Excuse me for a moment. Bitcoin, stay here, right?
Bitcoin, no! Bitcoin, come on, little buddy, Bitcoin, I need you. Don't go.
This is Alex. Alex spends most of his time thinking like a trader, still deciding what to do with his Bitcoin. While Alex waits for the perfect entry, this is Laura. She's watching the S&P drop. Everyone is suddenly a macro expert. She doesn't panic. This is Tom. No screens, no noise, no stress. While Tom focuses on his swing, his Bitcoin focuses on compounding. Because Bitcoiners don't want more dollars. They want more Bitcoin.
I want more Bitcoin.
The best move is letting your Bitcoin work while you plan the next one. Grow by Roxom. One currency, one place.
How about stretch preferred stock on Roxom? Receive 11.5% monthly cash dividends paid in Bitcoin.
11.5% paid in Bitcoin? How is that possible?
It's real. Stretch dividends on Roxom gives 11.5% monthly cash dividends paid in Bitcoin.
Dang! I want everyone pitching Roxom to your clients. Corporate traders, asset managers, old, young, Stretch on Roxom is for everyone.
Now that's a birthday gift. 11.5% in Bitcoin.
11.5. We are in heaven at 11.5. 11.5%. 11.5%.
Some call me Chicken Little, others Bubble Boy. I'm a bit changed, but sounds familiar, right? Let me tell you a hard truth. The S&P isn't rising, the dollar's falling. That's the trick, monopoly money. It's ice melting by the second. Your savings, your salary, your time. Worth less every second. Everyone's using the wrong measuring stick. Switch the denominator. Price the S&P into Bitcoin. Hard, fixed, unprintable. Suddenly your unstoppable index, it's collapsing. And while you cling to dollars, well, Wall Street already switched. Before, you needed two brokers.
Still getting my ninja bonus though, right?
Plenty of spreadsheets. And my quant!
I hate this part.
I was right, and I'll be right again. If I were you, I'd thank me.
You know my name's Dave, right?
Involved in the blockchain industry since the very early days and spent years working with governments, businesses, organizations around the world on digital assets and emerging technologies. He's also the author of the newly released book, So Web4, The Age of Autonomous Intelligence, and where he explores what happens when AI and blockchain start working together. We are going to talk about the future of the internet, the role of AI, why decentralization matters more than ever, and what are all of this means for investors, governments, and everyday people. So joining us right now is Anndy Lian. Andy, welcome to Roxom TV. It's great to have you with us.
Hi, good to see you. Good to see you.
Yeah, so Andy, I have got a lot of questions to pick your brain on because you are the professional. You have worked with governments, major corporations, and one of the world's largest crypto exchanges. So what's something the public completely misunderstood about how these large organizations think about global and AI?
I think many of these organizations, they if you're looking at it from an exchange perspective, they want users, right? AI is just a narrative to them, right? But if you if you talk to investors, for example, right, if you talk to some of my friends in San Francisco, right, they see that AI is actually one of the main staple, in the current economy, and everything should be connected to AI, right? So again, that goes back to the gist of my book, right? I believe in crypto because it's the future money. I believe in decentralization, and I do believe that AI should be decentralized too, because if not, any of these big companies that we can think of right now can weaponize AI, and that is going to create a lot more pain for everybody, right? So I think AI is here to stay. Crypto is definitely here to stay, and it's good to see both converge together.
Yes, I like that. So we're certainly going to have to do an entire section to talk about your book. But what interests me the most is your background, because you work with governments around the world, and you work with one of the biggest exchanges being Bybit. So I want to ask every single of the experience, because like for viewers out there, like including myself, I have no idea how to picture like advising a government around the world is. So let's actually break down the question. I want to talk about the Bybit role, because you spent some time leading government relations at Bybit. What does that role exactly do? Like, do you have to call the government to talk about the business with Bybit, or what I could expect in that role?
Sure. So back then with Bybit is that there were some regulatory issues with the South Korean government, right? So it's a lot easier if you get someone who understands the government to build that relationship and to solve the problem versus just getting a lawyer in, try to force your way through, right? So back in Bybit days, it's more about building relationship with government, right? So South Korea is one of them, right? And of course, if you look at the things that I do, when I was with Bybit, I also give advice to Mongolia, right? So I look at their productivity side of things, give them some good advice on how they could move on from just being a country looking at some technology into some really useful case studies that they could use to push crypto into the nation, right? So if you see this from a corporate standpoint, it is more about relationship building with the government, right? But if you look at it from the government standpoint, it is about letting the government understand, right? But out of all this role, whether it's with the with a crypto exchange or whether it's with an international organization, the most fun thing to do is to convince the government what they should do next. Because most times when they approach myself, they roughly have an idea what they want to do, right? But it might not be what I want them to do, because if I go along with their suggestion and sometimes it's just too fast. For example, they just want to legalize crypto, right? But then their payment structure is not there. They have not even tried to control some of these crypto companies within their country. They do not get a very good feel on how exactly it should work, right? So normally for me is to try and debunk it, tell them what they should really do first, convince them that this is the path, and then ask them to move along with it, right? I think that is the most fun part when you talk to government, right? And again, it depends on what kind of government, right? Some government, they are richer. Some government, they have a bigger tech focus. Some government are more concerned about protecting their traditional finance space. So navigating with the government is really a very tiring role, because at one side you need to make the core minister, who is in charge, maybe most likely the finance minister, to understand what are the pros and cons. But at the same time, because there will be a pool of those enterprise like blockchain company, crypto company at the side, just like what you see right now there's lobbying in US and so forth. There are also those companies in some of this country, but not maybe through a lobbying process, but they want to get into the sandbox. They want to get insights. They want to make sure that they can survive. So sometimes, talking to both sides is, to me, is the most fun thing, man. You're finding the balance and you're finding what can be done so that the crypto industry can move to the next level in this region and not
Yeah, that's
breaking
very,
all the
very
relationship.
interesting. Very interesting for sure. Like working with governments at the same time with on the behalf of the crypto exchanges. So so for the experience that you work with Mongolian government, like what are these stuff that you suggested actually go through? And then is there any funny moments that you saw? Okay, the government suggest and what they wanted is basically would be so harmful for cryptocurrency as a whole, and then that it actually did not go through. Is there any actual example you could share with us?
I don't want to name countries, but I have a very good example in an Asia country where they want to regulate decentralized networks probably 4 years ago, right? So they, of course, the idea is for them to map up all the wallets, right? So everything in that region, they know exactly what's happening. But them trying to regulate decentralized network, to me, I think is a joke. So I told them very specifically, you can track all the wallets. You can get the service from this big crypto company, no problem, right? But ask yourself, what is the final goal? Are you thinking of tracking the money so to collect more tax, or are you trying to stop illicit money from flowing in and out from the country, right? So of course the government then say that, oh, I want both. I said, okay, I think it's a tough ball, man. All you really need to do is to control the inflow and outflow of your own fiat, so that people get more restriction when you do the on-ramp or off-ramp. You can only track until there. If you want to track individual networks, it's tough. They say, oh, I can send a lawyer's letter to Ethereum Foundation and do an audit. I was like, oh, I say it's not easy, to do that. You can definitely send them an email or send them a lawyer's love letter, but nothing much can be done because it's decentralized, right? So countries take a long time to really understand how decentralization works, because to a certain extent, they kept thinking that we are not decentralized. For some countries, they would think that we are not decentralized. Of course, I told them, yes, we are not decentralized. I'm not happy with that. But this does not mean that you can control the whole network, right? It's not decentralized maybe because of how some of the early founders allocate themselves with power and token, right? And maybe some of the code, you can really stop them, like USDT can stop the money. But if you want to control the network and audit the network, that is impossible, right? So
It doesn't work.
so but now I think they understand, right? After such a long time, but all these things takes time, and to be honest, it's fun, but it's also not fun because you will be stuck in the situation for a long time, years, and yeah. So yeah, I like to see progress, right? So getting stuck.
Yeah, eventually get burnt out for
Yeah.
sure by the government. But you mentioned the reason why you were at Bybit because they had some issue with South Korea, and I also happen to know that you work with Hyundai, so the blockchain division, like Hyundai being the Korean car manufacturer. So, what surprised you the most about how a TradFi, so a traditional global company, approaches blockchain innovation? Is there something you learned that is so different from Bybit or governments around the world?
I think big chaebols, big companies, I like them, especially Hyundai, some of the people there. I like them because they're innovative, right? They dare to try, right? When all the rest of the car brands are just thinking about what blockchain is about, most of them are worried about the technology. The South Korean, they deploy it, right? They want to make it happen. They invest into blockchain companies. They want to be innovative, right? So that innovation part keeps me really happy, really, really happy, you know. And I think they are
Yeah,
one of the few,
especially
you know, in Asia
yeah.
that dare to push, you know.
Yeah, like South Korean is very, I would say I come across quite a lot of them because I went to like some of the South Korean crypto events before. So like the vibe that I'm getting from the general public is that they are very decent and very innovative for sure. If they have $100, they're willing to bet like $112 into some very decent stuff. Is that the vibe that you're getting when you talk to South Korea large institutions as well?
Um, I think the risk appetite is definitely higher compared to you know, some other countries, right? So I think the plus point is risk appetite is a bit higher. You know, they know what they're getting themselves into. Of course, there's always a more gambler-like environment in South Korea. But ultimately, those that are really genuine, they are trying to drive innovation. So I think it's a super big win-win for everybody, right? Oh, and of course, if you are just looking at the big companies, this is how I felt. But if you look at the retail, mostly are gamblers, you know, and they are willing to try and gamble and see whether they make it or fail, right? Make it big or nothing, you know. That kind of mentality has always been in a lot of my friends in South Korea. You know, that's how they that's how they operate, you know.
Yeah, I mean, I have experienced a little bit of that as well, but like it's another story. We'll maybe share that after the interview. So like you're very well experienced in the Web3 world, but recently you wrote a book called Web4. So that really caught my attention. So the title is Web4, The Age of Autonomous Intelligence. Like for people hearing the term for the first time, what exactly is Web4? Could you break it down for us?
Okay. So Web4 is a term that I often use to talk about real decentralization, right? Real decentralization met using AI. So you could say that it's an AI plus blockchain product or AI plus blockchain era, right? So AI will be the brain, blockchain will be the spine to secure everything together, right? So that is the main gist of it. You know the word Web4. It's a very strange thing, right? Why I came out with a book like that and what exactly happened, I think that is something that I really need to say. So the first time I wrote about Web4 was 2021, right? I think back then I'm not sure whether there's anybody talking about it. I'm just purely complaining because damn, our place is not decentralized because we invest in projects from the back end. We understand how the governance network work. We understand how the coding work. And I would tell myself, damn, it's not decentralized, right? So I started to talk about it 2021, first time. 2023, first time I went on the stage to do a single keynote speech on Web4, 2023. Back then, during that period of time, if you Google Web4 on Google, my name will come up at the top because I don't believe there's many people talking about it, right? So I started to write about articles. I started to see how AI and blockchain should work together, how they could get together to form this very nice marriage. You know, I contributed articles to like India Times for a little bit more than a year, purely just pushing out use cases on how AI and blockchain can work together. It's not just about trading, right? It's about, you know, getting into the system, how they work with each other. So to me, it has always been a passion project, you know. So eventually I wrote the book just to share some of my thoughts, you know. Not an easy read,
So
man.
yeah, so here's how I understand Web4 is that like Web3 to you is not decentralized enough. So you think like adding AI in the recipe would make it more decentralized. But like AI right now is extremely centralized, and especially all the LLMs are created by all the large institutions. So how does that combination would work? Could you break it down in more details?
Okay, so if you look at the angle of Web3, right? I dare agree that many people would agree that it's not decentralized, right? It's okay. It is decentralized. I'm sorry. So from a Web3 perspective, most of us would agree that it's not decentralized, right? So that one, there's no need to talk about it. So in order for it to be more decentralized, we need to reduce the human beings' involvement. So AI can come in, as part of the consensus mechanism, as part of the tokenomics rewards mechanism. AI can come in, right? Actually, I had a space today with my friend this morning, Hong Kong time. But if you look at the AI space, then you ask yourself, do you feel safe having one or two or three big companies controlling the whole AI space? I don't think so, right? So if you look at some of the podcasts, for example, if you look at All In podcasts, or like I said, I talked to friends in San Francisco, I talked to the memory, the AI guys who are in Taiwan and in South Korea. They all have the same sentiments. I think number one, selling hardware, no problem. AI open source, good to have, right? But AI should also be decentralized. So that fits to the narrative of the Web4 as well, right? If you believe that AI should not be controlled by one or two big power, then it should be decentralized. It should be controlled by the people, by the community, and that's how we get something more fair and balanced, right? So,
but I'll push back a little bit because
sure.
AI is extremely centralized right now. How do you achieve that to all of us will get decentralized AI? Because like AI is basically being trained by human. You put the data by human. There's a phrase that garbage in, garbage out. So there is still a centralized nature to AI, right?
So you if you look at my book, there's an architecture model that I look into, right? If you are talking about just pure LLMs, right? Okay, yeah, it's very centralized, right? Everything is collated by that few player. But what I really want to do is to work on Web4 from a crypto perspective, right? So you just look at the blockchain right now is not decentralized, right? AI comes in as a form of a mechanism, maybe from the simplest way to just explain this, right? So AI comes in as a consensus model, as part of the big consensus model. Instead of a human being take 90% of the power, AI can take 60%, human takes 40%, right? Human as in the community and so forth, not the CEO, right? So we could set up a model such that during the collection of data model, right, AI can find out what is wrong, what are the issues, right? They collect the data, be the brain, sort out all those issues, vote against themselves, and vote against the community to see what is right, what is wrong, what should be done. Again, AI would have a more weightage, and then the decision-making process. So this is collection, is by consensus. The decision-making process is also by consensus. So again, AI and the human architects, I call ourselves architects, will come together, look at the problem, what should be solved, let's agree together. So it become more like a AI DAO, right? Not just a human DAO where now I have more money, I buy more tokens, I got everything, right? So the AI will come in as a brain to make sure that things can be balanced out, check and balance, right? Then this just this morning, the conversation. So one of the guys say that, then what about the AI side? Are you talking about building a new LLM, right? Or what? I said, no, we'll use the existing frontier models because I look at this from a Web3 perspective. So I want that chain to be decentralized first, right? For now, there's no need to build new LLMs. I could always build agents around all the LLMs, integrate and collate the data from all the frontier model, and at the end, use one of the agent to integrate, collate all the data, act as the brain, talk about the data collection, and then talk about the decision-making consensus using the AI agent that we have trained, right? So I'm not saying that it's going to change the whole landscape, but eventually it has to be decentralized. The AI power that you see should come from all the community members who have maybe a GPU or TPU. Everyone can just contribute, right? Contribute the computing power, contribute the calculation power right in the beginning, so that everything is taken in a very fair and community-like structure to keep it fair for everyone to use. That's just a very top level explanation. But of course, we can go to the architects, how the different layers going to interact. It's just going to be boring, man. To be honest.
Yeah, awesome. Thanks for breaking down for us, by the way. So, if Web4 succeeds, could you give us some examples just to picture how everyday people like you and me could interact with Web4 instead of Web3? Is there any actual use cases?
I think in my book I talk about healthcare, right? So instead of you monitoring yourself, right, you go and take measurements and so forth. What I would really assume in the future is you wear your own IoT devices. They keep track of your health, right? Connect yourself to an AI environment, automate everything, right? What do you need to eat? What is your ideal weight? When you need to see a doctor? What is happening to you? Everything will be collated together. The AI become like a concierge to make sure that your health is being taken care of. Why is it in a Web4 environment? Because the Web4 environment gives agents automated and give them more power, to run your life, right? And the agents will tell you what to do, when to see a doctor, like I've mentioned, what you should do next, in your health. All your medical data can be collated by the agent and store it on chain, right? So everything will be done in a very automated manner. Right now, you look at the LLMs that you see right now, most of them are just talking about productivity, right? Oh, I'm going to write an article, I'm going to get the social media agent to help me, this and that. But if you are in a fully autonomous environment, the AI agent in a controlled environment, in a Web4 environment, will take care of all your health needs, A to Z. That's it, right? And everything is in that controlled environment. I think that could be one example. Yeah.
Yeah, that reminded me of some news that I saw last week is that NVIDIA, basically there is a startup that they're doing and then they're trying to, in a way, decentralize data center because building a data center from scratch is very expensive and it takes a very time consuming. What they did is that they have this node instead which could be built in your backyard. So in all the American households to basically contribute a data center. I'm not sure if you heard of this news before, or are you a big fan of what NVIDIA is doing?
So I see a couple of US companies doing very similar stuff, right? They also share their electricity, right? They share their GPU power. I think that's part and parcel of how decentralization works, right? Everything is now distributed and not just concentrated on one or two power source or one or two data center. Everyone is part of the data, right? So, like I said, not just Jensen, not just Elon, because Jensen is building a lot of different GPU utility. Elon, with his home and solar panel, they are doing off-grid power. So all of them are trying to be decentralized, right? Or maybe the other word to use is to be more distributed, self-sustaining. I think that they are building the same future. It's just maybe the words that they are using is a little bit different, right? But we are just trying to decentralize things, from the grid.
Yeah, that's great to hear. So, speaking of decentralization nature in AI, because we know the world is getting towards not just LM that you type your request from the chatbot, but AI agents actually pushing that button and doing that task on your behalf. So like my question is like we know the futures are heading to a swarm of AI agents working together. So when these AI agents they interact with each other, there's some sort of payments involved, right? Do you think it's going to be stablecoin or some other cryptocurrency?
I say this openly. If AI is really that smart, they will come out with their own currency. Why do they need to use what we have in Web3, right? So I strongly believe that if AI is going to be that um, really smart being, they will start their own currency, right? Of course,
Doesn't it scare you though?
no, it will not be scary, but you just imagine, right? Now you're using Hong Kong dollar, I'm using Singapore dollar, and then some other joker is using some maybe Zimbabwe dollar, for example. It's just different forms of currency, right? So if AI is really smart enough, I believe that they will create their own currency, but I think they will still use some stable coin or use some cryptocurrency as well. But I believe they will come up with their own. So maybe out of the top 10 cryptocurrency next time, you will see one that is just AI created themselves. That's it, right? I think that should be quite fun. You know, there are proof of electricity, proof of computation. Yeah, it's a lot better than proof of stake, man, which is pretty bullshit in my opinion.
That sounds more like Terminator than fun though. Like I mean, maybe I watched too much Black Mirror. So can we where are we going from AI? Is that like, unlimited power from here? What are human beings going to be in this Mother Earth, right?
We need to embrace AI, right? So instead of seeing us as as a byproduct, you know, oh, we are going to be jobless soon. Think about how you can reposition yourself, right? Instead of being a developer, can you be now the AI developer leader, right? You monitor the AI, right? So instead of you coding, can you monitor the AI, you know, to make sure that they are not doing anything bad? Instead of you becoming a designer, right? Can you become a prompter, right? So I think we need to learn how to embrace AI. You know, it's definitely going to come, right? What is your role, right? If you still want to be stuck at your comfort zone, then don't complain about it, right? If you want to try AI, you know, step by step from a chatbot to an agent to automate your tasks, you know, to automate your life, to get AI to earn money for you, then you got to start somewhere, right? So embrace it. You know, that should be the key. In more developed countries, it's funny to see that most people are not very much embracing it. Like in some countries, they would expect the government to tell them what they should do next. I think that is a screwed up mentality, right? If you have the ability, if you know exactly what you want from AI, talk to the AI. You know, I talk to AI a lot more than I talk to real human being nowadays because they can answer my
Yeah, I do
question.
the same.
Yeah, it's really bad, you know. Yeah, but because they can answer my question, I absorb that knowledge. I get an answer. That's it, right? I like talking to them because they can give me smart replies. But of course, they are not always 100% correct, right? If you don't mind, you know, tonight before you sleep, Jamie, quarrel with the AI. Quarrel and try to reason with him or her. It's a fun process, right? After a while, you realize that AI is just like your other half. You know, after telling them the same shit for 1 hour, they will give in. You know, you try. You know, it's quite fun. You know, they will give in. They will tell you a different story, but try it. You know, everyone should just try it. You know, this you should not just hear from us. Just try it. You know, it's funny.
So it sounds like we can't put a stop to AI right now. And speaking of can't putting a stop, we have the AI IPO swarm. So like we know 2026, three of the largest AI companies have been SpaceX, Anthropic, and also OpenAI. They're going on a IPO right now. So like, what's your take on these IPOs? Do you think it's overhyped a little bit, or are we gonna see like a crash, maybe a day or 2 days after the IPO, or you think they're higher to go?
Oh, okay, just my own personal take, right? Because I speak to friends in US and I talk to all the different bankers and so forth. I think the on the very first day of trading, it should go up first. Yeah, on the very first day of trading, it should go up first. But in the longer time frame, I don't think it's going to do well, right? Because you can see that the investors are going to unlock, right? The whole global supply, money supply, is also not in the most favorable state, right? If you look at actual people, retail people with money, I think is getting far and few. So I would expect first day surging over a period of 6 to 12 months. I think we will see it go down to less than a trillion. I think
Why 6 to 12 months though? Why so precise?
you need some time for investors to unlock, investors to sell. You also need to see, because on the very in the very beginning, they will be included in the Nasdaq 100, right? So a lot of these funds, mutual funds, government funds, retirement fund, everything will just swarm in, to buy. So it really depends on the mathematics, right? How much inflow are we talking about? What price did they buy it in, right? Then you can determine whether in a slightly longer period, like a 12 months period, what's going to happen, right? So it's all boils down to numbers, right? So at the beginning, my gut feel is it should go up. For how
So
long?
could I
I really don't know. Sorry, Jeremy.
So could I understand as like maybe 2027 there is a chance that the whole AI bubble getting too big and investors should really consider taking profit. Michael Berry has been right again, prove everyone to be an idiot. Like, do you think there is a chance, or it's very hard to predict where the how high S&P 500 and Nasdaq could go?
I think the bubble is definitely there, right? Right now we are just in the very beginning of a series of big IPOs upcoming, right? I think OpenAI also filed their S1 confidentially, if I'm not wrong, a few days ago. I think the bubble will definitely come, right? So for retail guys who are really into AI, and then they really want to buy the stock, I think they should be really careful, right? Otherwise, just bet on the kingpin of the AI, bet on them, but hold it for at least 5 to 10 years. That is the only strategy. I would not want to buy in at the beginning because I don't believe the price is good. I would revisit that in about 6 to 12 months time to see if my hypothesis of it going down actually comes. If it comes, I would really consider buying it, right? Because AI, if we believe AI is the future, and if that maybe company A or company B is going to be like the kingpin of AI, then buying it and waiting it for 5-10 years if you have enough cash is a pretty good deal, honestly. Than buying any other IPO stock that comes 6 or 12 months down the road, because the initial hype is with that few companies. That's it. And I think you should be correct. First day should be surging. First week should do very well, but after which is really going to be very subjective, definitely.
That's very interesting take. So for sure, we're going to go back to this interview and let's see if the prediction from Andy Lian is correct then. There is also an argument for AI bubble because I'm sure a lot of us will agree that the bubble is getting bigger and bigger. A lot of people are drawing ties to what happened back in the 1990s. We have the internet bubble. Like as you mentioned, like internet is a real thing, just like AI is a real technology to stay. And I'm very long-term bullish on AI as well. But what happened in the 1990s during the internet bubble is that internet, of course, it is a real technology to stay. Like even today, we are using internet, but then 99% of these stocks crashed. So like, what's your take basically on that? Like, would you say there's a similar tie to what happened in the 1990s? Or because like another argument that people are saying is that the American government, so the US government, can't afford for the AI bubble to burst. Because like basically the entire net worth of the US government, they put their bet on AI only. Do you think that is valid, or basically the market is a free market, so they will do whatever they like?
I think history always rhymes, right? So first of all, when we talk about bubble, the first thing that we look at is the high valuation, right? So if you look at the current IPO, okay, because they are very well funded, okay, I think the valuation is high. But if you go to the market, as a VC, for example, everybody's project is all hyped up, right? Valuation is really high, right? So I think because of the high valuation and the value doesn't really match the valuation, there will be definitely a bubble, right? The big IPO, whether they are profitable or not profitable, I'm not sure in the longer run, but there's still a bubble if you are looking at this from a very short time frame. The other problem that we see in the dot-com days and now, which is very similar, is that there's always a circulating finance, right? What I'm saying is that the same dollar is being recycled. For example, NVIDIA will invest in their companies, in some of these companies, and then buy back the NVIDIA's product, right? So it's always circulating, recycling. I personally think that at one point, if the amount invested is too big for what I've talked about, the valuation, then the bubble will straight away happen, right? Because the value and the ROI is actually very closely linked, right? So if there's a lack of immediate ROI or lack of an immediate narrative to see the technology progress to the next stage, then the bubble will definitely come, and it will just be the same as the dot-com days where many of the companies got wiped out. We will see the same, definitely,
So viewers of Roxom TV for sure need to be aware of what they're getting into, because like all these AI really hypey narrative, it sounds very fancy until it doesn't. So we talk about Web3 and Web4 rather. So we talk about Web4 being AI and blockchain coming together. And as for smaller guys or maybe viewers watching Roxom TV today, like, is there any advice you could offer, Andy? So you could offer to the viewers of Roxom TV, like utilizing Web for what you author in the book. Is there any opportunities that you see for smaller guys we could do right now?
I think if you're talking about crypto, AI, and so forth, there are always opportunity for investment, right? Investment, yeah, not the kind of pump and dumps, quick buy, quick sell. If you are really looking at a good investment, try to find the top guy in each of the categories. For example, if you are in the crypto space, eyeball Bitcoin, right? Because it's the biggest in terms of market cap, widely recognized. Buy some of those. I think it should be fairly okay. Of course not now, because I think the price is still going to go down. If the AI stock is going to go down, if there's an AI bubble that is coming, then Bitcoin will not be spared, right? So watch out for Bitcoin. Find a nice, comfortable spot that you are able to get in. Buy some. Just keep it. I think that should not go wrong. Yeah. unless a quantum
So
computing can crack crack Satoshi's wallet or something. Right? If not, it's okay. I think.
I do want to get your take onto on the whole Bitcoin where Bitcoin is going because, like as you mentioned, Bitcoin is going kind of nowhere. Last time I checked, it was 62K somewhere around there. But you also mentioned there is a chance that Bitcoin could go lower. So, is there any time frame that you're watching? Because the 4 year cycle guy, they are saying that October 2026 is going to be the cycle bottom. But like what you just told me, if AI turns out to be the bubble and bubble happen to burst, do you think that timeline will stretch to be a little bit longer until we see the final cycle bottom of Bitcoin?
It's if you look at the diminishing use of diminishing calculation, I think this time round BTC's bottom should be about 44,000 thereabout. You know, we talk about 65% drop, right? So I think in the previous cycles it drops from 85, right, and then another one is 75. The previous one, I think this one should drop about 65, right? If you just based on pure formula, right? But if you look at the different buy and sell, where are the resistance and so forth, is also about there, about 40 something would be a good bottom. When that is going to happen, I think it will start to happen very, very soon with the first IPO, right? So we still need to get through the IPOs, you know, the three major ones, or at least maybe 3 or 4 major ones, work up, right? Then we need to know what is the US strategy for the oil, because the energy crisis is still a very big thing. Are they still going to continue with the war, right? If they are not going to continue, okay. But ultimately, you still have to see money supply, right? Are they going to drop the stimulus check? Maybe. How big is the stimulus check? You know, we have to see all these things because right now there is no money, in my opinion. If you're talking about just a Bitcoin, I see that there's insufficient interest, not enough money, so it should drop. You know, so I don't see the reason why it should go up. You know, last 3 months you can still say that it's liquidity hunting, right? But ever since what Saylor did with the 32 Bitcoin, you know, the sentiments has gone down to shit level, you know. So I don't know the time frame, but it should happen. The super bottom should happen this year, no matter what. I think, you know, then after which, if they decided to print money, steamy checks comes in, war solved, energy, oil price go back to normal, then perhaps Q2 next year you can see slightly better results. You know, if not, there's no real reason why Bitcoin should pump. You know, what's pumping it? No reason. Right. So this year should be the bottom, I hope. You know.
I agree with you. Like, there's simply no liquidity in both Bitcoin and the crypto market. Because, like, we just talk about the AI IPO, and the reason why we have been spending such a long segment to talk about that is that, in a way, these AI narratives are sucking liquidity away from both Bitcoin and crypto. Like, we are seeing a narrative that people are selling their Bitcoin holdings or crypto holdings just to get into some SpaceX IPO or pre-IPO. So that is what we witnessed so far. So you also tease out another thought about Bitcoin a little bit. So you mentioned quantum computing. I do want to get your take about that. Do you think there's any truth to it, or there's just like another FUD piece, just like the FUD piece for China? It happened like every single month in the bear market. What's your take on quantum computing?
Quantum is very real, honestly, right? If you can have a kick-ass quantum computing super processor, you know, and then now with AI able to make wonders, I think it's not far at all. You know, it will happen. You know, it will definitely happen. It's just the time frame, right? Is it going to happen in the next 2 years? Is it going to happen in the next 5 years? I think it's going to happen soon. I think that there's still a 2 years time frame, right? You just look at it this way, right? Right now, this Claude, they have their this what was it called? Is it Matos, right? The one that you could really, crack things up. Very soon, perhaps in the next 1 month or so, the Chinese model will have the same capability, right? And it's a lot cheaper, right? Same capability, a lot cheaper means that there will be a lot more hacking, a lot more people trying to come together to compute stuff and so forth. Maybe even before the quantum days, with all the excessive AI combined together, that can break some stuff already. Whether it can beat Bitcoin encryption, I'm not a cryptographer, but I think from a theory perspective, it should be possible, right? You just imagine, now they could find all the different vulnerabilities in your coding, right? Attack it, get all the agents to come together. Then why not I just get 10,000, 20,000, 50,000 agents, right? Using the latest AI, gather all the biggest computing power, plus because China's electricity is cheap, the AI model reasoning is good. Use that perhaps even before the quantum kicks in. We could already break some of this cryptocurrency stuff, So I'm keeping myself very neutral on that, because technology changes very fast. And I think it's a good thing, just crack it, let's find something better. Why not? I'm okay.
That being said, though, because you just wrote a book about Web4, like based on what you just told me about quantum, if we fast forward to 2030 or somewhere around that, basically in the future, how do you envision that? Like Web4, is it still going to be a part of that play, or going to be something completely you can't predict right now?
I can't predict. It could be a Web 5 or something, right? Because the thing that I try to solve with Web 4 is to get things more decentralized, whether it's from a Web 3 perspective or from an AI perspective, it should be more decentralized. But when quantum kicks in, it will be a totally different play, because a lot of the things or the tech that we believe in might not be working anymore. You might need to change, the whole coding mechanism. You might need to have quantum resistant. You just need to have a lot more things in your toolbox to make sure that things can go better. So I'm not sure, really not sure. Maybe Web 10. I'm not sure, but yeah. So but meanwhile, it's still Web 4 to me, because AI is still going to be around, crypto is still going to be around. If quantum kicks in, crypto is not going to be around, or crypto got to pivot, then let it pivot. We will fight with. We'll deal with it on another occasion. That's totally okay.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, at the end of the day, no one has a crystal ball, so it's really difficult to predict what the future would be like if quantum computer were to arrive. So finally, final question for you, Andy. What's next for you then? Because you just have a new book, so Web 4. Any new projects you're working on? Any new books you're writing? Because like from what you just told me, you've written like 4 books already. So is there any initiative we should really keep an eye on?
I'm actually really thinking about a few things, right? So I might want to come up with a totally open source, decentralized, AI-driven blockchain. Totally open source. I walk the talk. I will, if I'm the architect or the founder or whatever you want to call it, I will not have the majority of the token. I just want to walk the talk and make Web4 a working model, right? Because just to be very frank, like I said, I started to talk about it 2021. I wrote a book. Actually, I have a PhD paper on this. I have not defended that paper yet, but I just want to make that vision a bit closer to all the builders, right? If we believe that Web3 or crypto should be decentralized, can we all work together to make it decentralized, make it more fair, right? So that everyone can benefit from this technology. and not just working on some pump and dump stupid blockchain wallet swap that nobody's using, right? So maybe that could be one of a pet project, that I want to try, but nothing is firm yet, I just think that I would just take my time. It doesn't matter, and in fact I hope someone else from the industry can build something like that, right? And not trying to bluff us with some centralized bullshit and make us think that it's good, right? If we really think that cryptocurrency should be decentralized, then we have to make sure that the decentralization part stays, right? If we do not like fiat and we think that fiat has a lot of bad things, it's all controlled, then we should not like stablecoin, right? So we should not be trying to contradict ourselves day in, day out, right? Keep it simple. If you want it to be decentralized, let's push the decentralized agenda to the next level. That's it, So maybe a new blockchain could be a working product. I'm not sure. I'm still really thinking about it, But meanwhile, I just want to finish my PhD because I have gone through quite a few bits of revision of that paper, and I'm now trying to find a professor or a school that is willing to take it up, and so that I can defend it. It's not easy to find a school that I could do that. So fingers crossed. Hopefully something new can come up.
Yeah, good luck to you, Andy, and the whole PhD stuff. But thanks for sharing about the basically I agree with you, the whole decentralization aspect, because we know Web3 it is quite pretty shit. I just put it that way. A lot of shady stuff was going on, especially back in 2021 with all the GameFi and NFT shit. But I'll just leave it at that. That's going to do it for today's show. So Andy, a huge thank you for taking your time to join us today. Really enjoyed the conversation, and hopefully all of you learned something new about Web4, AI, blockchain, and where this industry could be heading next. If you enjoyed today's discussion, make sure to follow Andy on social media and check out his new book, Web4, The Age of Autonomous Intelligence, also available now on Amazon. And thank you guys for hanging out with us today. So just a quick reminder, I'm live here every Monday through Friday at 3 a.m. Eastern Time on Roxom TV. We cover Bitcoin, macro, AI, and global markets every single day, and we regularly bring in amazing guests like Andy to share their insights and perspectives. If you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button, give the video a like, and turn on notifications so you don't miss any future interviews or any market update. Thank you guys for watching. Have a